Okay, let's start a new exercise in which we're going to take into account utility. Here we have quantities available from two products, A and B, in 6 quantities with their individual utility as follows. Please do remember, individual utility, it's something that it drops by the increasing quantity in consumption. Also do remember that total utility, it is the sum of individual utilities. The question for this exercise would be to find out the total utility and also the marginal utility in these cases. Then to find out total utility if the consumption is made out of two products, 5 units from A and 3 units from B. And also what is the final utility. Okay, let's try and solve it. And first of all, let me remind you that total utility is the sum of individual utilities. For instance, if the quantity in consumption is just 1 unit, the total utility, it's exactly the individual utility of the first unit because I don't have with what to add. So for instance, the total utility for product A, if A is 1 unit, it equals the individual utility of the first unit of A. In this case, 60. If the quantity in consumption is 2 units, then total utility of 2 units, it is the first individual utility plus the individual utility of the second. In the case of product A, the total utility, it's 60 plus 50. So in this case, it's 110. Now, please be so kind and check here where we have the quantities 1, 2, 3, and so on. If the quantity in consumption is 1, total utility equals the individual utility of the first. If the quantity in consumption is 2, total utility is the sum between the individual utilities of the first two. Total utility of 3 units, definitely it will mean the sum of the individual utilities of the first 3. 60 plus 50 plus 40, in this case it will be 150. Another possibility when we check the total utility of 4 units would be to take into account the total utility of the first 3 at which to add the fourth one, in this case 180. And so on and so forth, total utility of 5 units and total utility of 6 units. Each time that I'm increasing the quantity, also the total utility will increase by the individual utility of each of them. This was the case of A product in which it was adding the individual utility of A. In the case in which we are speaking about the second product, the total utility will be found exactly like before. So if we are speaking about 1 unit of B, the total utility will be equal with the utility of the first unit from B. If we are speaking about 2 units of B, then definitely the total utility, it will be taken as the sum of their individual utilities. And so on and so forth, adding one by one the individual utilities, then we're going to find out the total utility of each. Okay, this being said that this is total utility, let's find out what is the total utility of 5 units from A plus 3 units of B. Once again, regardless of how many products do we have, the total utility is the sum of individual utilities. In this case, we're going to check 5 units from A, total utility from 5 units from A, and 3 units of B, total utility for 3 units of B. So basically, either we're going to add one by one individual utilities or we're going to use these total utilities. The reply should be the total utility of 5 units from A with total utility from 3 units of B, 275. That will make 275 the final result. So for the example or for the question, what is the total utility of 5 units of A and 3 units of B? We're going to add up the total utility for 5 units of A and 3 units of B. Even if the quantities are different, how do we find it? Exactly is the same amount or the same usage. What does it mean, the final utility? It is the utility of the last unit in consumption. In this case, the utility of the last unit in consumption, in each case, the quantity is 6. So the final utility of the 6th unit of A and the final utility of the 6th unit of B are, first of all, the individual utility of the 6th unit of A is 10. The individual utility of the 6th unit of B is 5. So the final utility in the case of A is 10 because it's the utility of the last unit. The final utility, I'm repeating myself, the final utility in the case of B is actually 5. Okay. Also to this exercise, let's imagine what does it mean marginal utility. I want to remind you that marginal means the benefit that an individual has in consumption by 1 extra unit of a specific product. So it is the benefit, the extra utility, divided to the extra quantity. For example, if I want to find out for the quantity equals 4 units of A, what is the marginal utility of 4 units of A? I'm gonna have the change in total utility divided to change in quantity, which means total utility of 4 units minus total utility of 3 units divided to the change in quantity, 4 minus 3. Because we take into account units from A, we will need total utility of A. So units of A, total utility of A 3 and 4. We're going to make the difference between total utility of 3 and 4, and we got divided by quantity. In this case, it will be 180 minus 150 divided to 4 minus 3, which is actually 30. I will include this here as 30 and make you aware of something that I'm going to underline, and I will ask you to keep it in mind if possible for the test. When the individual utility equals the marginal utility, I told you during the seminar, and my colleague told you during the seminar, well, individual utility equals marginal utility only when the extra quantity, the change in quantity, is always 1. What does it mean? It means that by increasing 1 by 1, all the time the difference in total utility shall be splitted to 1, 4 minus 3, 11 minus 10, and so on and so forth.